Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her monitor, the same pattern flashing across multiple screens in her small office at the Deep Space Monitoring Station. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago, forgotten as she cross-referenced data from the past 50 years of astronomical observations. Something wasn't right with the supposed natural extinction events she'd been studying. "Computer, run sequence analysis Delta 7 again," she commanded, her voice hoarse from too many hours without rest. The mathematical precision and the timing between extinction events couldn't be natural. Nature was chaos, patterns within patterns, but this was different. The screen flickered as new data streams appeared. Sarah leaned forward, her heart racing, as the computer confirmed what she'd suspected. The intervals between extinctions weren't random. They followed a complex but definite pattern, like a countdown moving through space. Dr. Chen, her assistant Tom, appeared at the door. "The Global Space Council representatives are here. They're not happy about being called in at 3 a.m. Sarah nodded, gathering her tablets. "They'll be less happy when they see this." The conference room was packed with irritated officials in rumpled suits. Dr. James Morrison, her department head, shot her a warning look as she entered. She'd bypassed standard protocols to call this emergency meeting, and if she was wrong, her career was over. "Distinguished members of the council," Sarah began, her hand steady as she connected her tablet to the room's holographic display. "I apologize for the hour, but what I've discovered couldn't wait." The room filled with three-dimensional star maps, extinction events highlighted in red. Over the past 50 years, we've recorded 27 cases of civilizations going dark. We assumed they were natural disasters, internal conflicts, or technological failures. We were wrong. She highlighted the pattern, showing how each extinction connected to the next. This isn't random. These events are methodical, moving through space like a hunter clearing territory. And based on the pattern, she took a deep breath. Earth will be targeted within 5 years. Laughter erupted from several council members. Dr. Morrison pinched the bridge of his nose. Dr. Chen, a senior councilman, spoke, his voice dripping with condescension. "Do you realize how many resources it would take to verify this theory? We can't." The room's screen suddenly flickered, cutting him off. Static filled the air, then resolved into a transmission that made Sarah's blood run cold. "This is High Commander Vextel of the Arcturus Coalition," a voice crackled through, accompanied by sounds of chaos and destruction. "To any civilization receiving this message, they're coming. We saw the pattern too late. They move through space like a cleansing wave, eliminating all advanced life. Their technology exceeds anything we've encountered. They don't communicate, they don't negotiate, they simply." An explosion rocked the transmission. The alien commander's voice became more urgent. "We fought as long as we could. Our final act is this warning. Look for the pattern. Prepare yourselves. They follow a precise timeline, and they never deviate. We die now, but perhaps you can." The transmission cut off in a burst of sound that would haunt Sarah's nightmares for years to come. A high-pitched whine followed by millions of screams suddenly silenced. Silence fell over the conference room. Sarah's hands trembled as she pulled up her final data set. This transmission was sent 11 months ago, just before the Arcturus system went dark. It matches perfectly with my projected pattern. Dr. Morrison stood slowly, his face ashen. "How long did you say we have?" 5 years, Sarah replied, her voice stronger now. "Maybe less if they detect our preparations." The senior councilman who had laughed earlier pressed a button on his phone. "Get me the Secretary General. Now." Within hours, Sarah's discovery sparked a chain reaction across the globe. Emergency sessions were called in every major government. As news spread, humanity faced its greatest test. Would they collapse into panic and chaos? The answer came swiftly and surprised even Sarah. People took to the streets not in panic, but in purpose. Signs appeared in windows. 5 years to ready. Social media exploded not with fear, but with determination. Scientists worldwide began sharing data freely, breaking down traditional barriers of competition and secrecy. In her office the next morning, Sarah watched the sunrise, knowing it meant something different now. Her phone buzzed with a message from the newly formed Earth Defense Initiative. "Dr. Chen, we need you to lead the Pattern Analysis Division. Humanity's preparing for a fight." She smiled, sending back a simple reply. "I'm ready." Looking at the star map one more time, Sarah thought of the Arcturus Coalition's final warning. Thanks to their sacrifice, Earth had something no other civilization had received: time to prepare. And humanity was already showing its unique response to cosmic threats. Not hiding, not running, but standing together, getting ready to fight back. The hunt was coming to Earth, but for the first time in galactic history, the prey would be ready for the predator. The United Nations Security Council chamber had changed dramatically in the 3 months since Dr. Chen's discovery. Gone were the polished wooden tables and ceremonial flags. Instead, holographic displays covered every surface, tracking global defense preparations and civilian response initiatives. General Maria Santos stood before the newly formed Earth Defense Initiative, her uniform bearing the fresh insignia of humanity's combined military forces. "The Ready Check movement has exceeded all expectations," she reported, gesturing to a wall of social media feeds. What started as a handful of viral videos has become a global phenomenon. The screen showed countless clips. Engineers showcasing homemade defense prototypes, civilians organizing community preparedness drills, students developing new algorithms for early warning systems. Each video ended with the same gesture: a military-style ready check followed by a determined nod. The public response is unprecedented. Dr. James Morrison added, now serving as Civilian Coordination Director. "Instead of mass panic, we're seeing structured organization at every level of society. People aren't just accepting the situation, they're innovating solutions." In a research facility beneath the Swiss Alps, Dr. Viktor Petrov worked through another night, his hands shaking as he decoded alien defense data. The cancer was progressing faster than expected, but he refused treatment. "Time better spent here," he told his colleagues, never looking up from his screens. "Victor, please," his daughter Elena pleaded, bringing him another cup of coffee. "At least take a break." He shook his head, eyes fixed on the scrolling alien symbols. "Can't. Almost have it." His fingers flew across the keyboard, implementing another decryption algorithm. The Arcturus transmission included encrypted weapon schematics. "If I can crack this." A sudden chime made them both jump. Green text flashed across the screen. "DECRYIONSUCCESSFUL." Victor smiled, tears in his eyes. "Got you," he whispered before slumping in his chair. Elena caught him, crying out for help, but Victor grabbed her hand. "Send it," he gasped. "Send it now. Every research facility, every military base. Don't wait for committees." As medical teams rushed in, Elena did exactly that. Within hours, Victor's breakthrough spread across the globe. He lived just long enough to see the first successful test of an Arcturus shield generator, built from his decrypted plans. The Victor protocol became standard procedure. Any breakthrough was immediately shared worldwide. Humanity's traditional barriers of nationality, corporate secrecy, and academic competition crumbled before the greater threat. In orbit, the International Space Station transformed into a military testing ground. Commander Sarah Wu supervised as engineers installed the first orbital defense array. "Ready check," she called over the comm. "Ready check, Commander," came the response from stations worldwide. The phrase had evolved from a social media trend into a formal acknowledgement of humanity's preparation. Back on Earth, cities began changing. Buildings incorporated shield generators into their architecture. Schools added defense drills to their curricula. Children played new games, simulating response scenarios with surprising sophistication. The EDI headquarters buzzed with activity as Dr. Chen presented her latest analysis. The destroyer's pattern isn't just about timing, she explained. They follow the same tactical approach with each civilization. But now, thanks to Dr. Petrov's decryption, we can see their playbook. General Santos nodded grimly. And we're rewriting our own in response. Every military force on Earth is adapting, incorporating these insights into their training. In Times Square, the giant screens that once showed advertisements now displayed a constant countdown. 4 years, 121 days, to PROGCTECONT. Similar clocks appeared in cities worldwide. Rather than causing panic, they became rallying points. Underground, vast facilities manufactured weapons and shield generators. Above, civilians transformed their communities into coordinated response units. The Ready Check movement evolved into a global civil defense network. Dr. Morrison stood at his office window, watching workers install a shield generator in Central Park. His phone buzzed with another update. Victor's decryption had led to 3 more technological breakthroughs. "Sir," his assistant called. "The civilian volunteer count just passed 2 billion. People are actually queuing to join defense preparation programs." Morrison smiled. The destroyers, for all their power, had made a crucial mistake. They had given humanity something no other species had received: advance warning. And humans, contrary to all historical precedent, had chosen unity over panic, preparation over denial. In her lab, Dr. Chen updated her original prediction models. The pattern suggested the destroyers had never faced organized resistance. They attacked civilizations that discovered them too late, that fell into chaos or denial. But humanity had chosen a different path. They had taken the warning and turned it into a weapon of its own. When the destroyers arrived, they wouldn't find panic or disarray. They would find a species that had spent years getting ready. A species that had turned "Ready Check" from a slogan into a way of life. The prey was becoming the predator, and Earth was just getting started. 3 years of preparation had transformed Earth into something unprecedented in galactic history. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the EDI's Global Communication Center, surrounded by displays showing 17 different transmission records, the final messages of civilizations destroyed by the approaching threat. Each species tried to warn others, she explained to the assembled world leaders, but they did it too late, during their final moments. "We're going to do something different." The room's central hologram displayed Earth's defensive network, a web of satellites, stations, and automated response systems that had been carefully crafted based on recovered alien data. It was time to show their hand. The destroyers send scout ships ahead of their main force, General Santos added, stepping forward. Historical data shows they arrive approximately 6 months before the primary attack. Our calculations suggest they'll send one within the next 2 weeks. Dr. Chen nodded, pulling up her proposed transmission package. Then let's give them something to think about. The message they had crafted was deceptively simple. In every known alien language, using communication protocols pieced together from the recovered transmissions, Earth would broadcast, "We're ready when you are." But it wasn't just the words. Accompanying the message was a carefully curated demonstration of Earth's preparations. Footage of successful defense simulations, shield technology tests, and planetary response drills. Everything calculated to show one crucial fact. Humanity knew what was coming and had spent years getting ready. "This isn't just a warning," Dr. Chen continued. "It's psychological warfare. No species has ever challenged them before. No civilization has ever looked up at their approach and said, 'Bring it on.'" The transmission began at midnight GMT. Every communication array on and around Earth focused outward, broadcasting their message to the approaching threat. Social media exploded as civilians added their own voices, recording personal messages of defiance in countless languages. 3 days later, they detected the first response. A scout ship, earlier than predicted, dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. The EDI's monitoring stations tracked its approach, watching as it encountered humanity's first surprise. The Scout hit a field of sensors disguised as debris. Before it could react, automated defense platforms activated, surrounding it with weapons specifically designed to counter destroyer technology. The ship froze, caught in a web it never expected to find. In EDI headquarters, technicians watched the Scout's reactions. "They're scanning our defenses," one reported, "getting readings of everything we wanted them to see." Dr. Chen smiled. Every piece of technology that allowed the Scout to detect was crafted to send a message. These weren't copied designs or desperate last-minute preparations. These were weapons and shields that had been refined and improved upon for years, specifically to counter destroyer tactics. The Scout ship retreated faster than any previous reconnaissance mission recorded in the recovered data. Its departure trajectory suggested it was returning directly to the main destroyer fleet. "And now we wait," General Santos said, watching the ship disappear from their sensors. They didn't have to wait long. Within hours, their deep space arrays detected massive energy disturbances. The destroyer fleet was changing course, altering its methodical pattern for the first time in recorded history. "They're accelerating their timeline," Dr. Chen announced, studying the data. "The Scout's report has them rattled. They're coming sooner than planned." Instead of panic, the news was met with grim satisfaction. The EDI's command center erupted in activity as the ready check procedure began worldwide. Civilians moved to their designated positions. Defense systems powered up. Everything humanity had prepared for was about to be tested. In cities across the globe, the countdown clocks reset. The destroyers would arrive in weeks, not months. But Earth's response remained the same. Messages of defiance continued broadcasting, now accompanied by real-time updates of defense preparations. Dr. Chen stood at her window that night, watching shield generators paint the sky with subtle patterns of energy. The destroyers had never faced a prepared opponent. They had never encountered a species that saw them coming and chose to stand its ground. "Ready check," she whispered, using the phrase that had become humanity's unofficial motto. Across the planet, billions of humans responded in their own ways. Some spoke it aloud, others typed it in messages, many simply nodded in determination. Earth had sent its warning, shown its teeth, and now the real test would begin. The hunters were coming early, driven by uncertainty for the first time in their existence. They would find a planet that had spent years preparing for exactly this moment. A world that had looked into the dark between the stars and declared, "We're ready when you are." The game was about to change, and humanity was ready to play. The destroyer dreadnought emerged from hyperspace like a nightmare made real, its massive form blotting out the stars over Earth's North Pole. Behind it, dozens of smaller ships took up attack formations. They expected to find a panicked civilization scrambling to mount a last-minute defense. Instead, they found the glass wall waiting for them. "All systems operational," reported Commander Sarah Wu from the orbital command station. "Glass wall defense grid is tracking multiple targets. Predictive AI is running attack pattern analysis." The glass wall was humanity's masterpiece, a network of automated defense platforms and AI systems designed to turn the destroyer's own tactical patterns against them. Years of studying recovered battle data had revealed their weakness. They always struck the same way, following preset strategies that had never failed them before. Until now. The first destroyer strike force moved exactly as predicted, launching a swarm of smaller craft toward Earth's major population centers. They'd never reached the atmosphere. The glass wall activated, its defensive pattern based on a teenager's winning strategy from a global gaming competition, held specifically to find unconventional tactical approaches. "Strike Force Alpha neutralized," Wu announced, her voice steady as she watched the destroyer's first wave disappear in a series of precise energy bursts, moving to counter-attack pattern Delta. In EDI headquarters, Dr. Chen and General Santos watched the battle unfold. The destroyer dreadnought reacted to the loss of its first wave exactly as their simulations had predicted, launching a concentrated energy beam at what it perceived as Earth's primary defense node. The beam passed harmlessly through a holographic projection, wasting enough power to leave the dreadnought temporarily vulnerable. Earth's counterattack was immediate and devastating. Platforms that had appeared to be simple communication satellites revealed themselves as weapon systems, striking the dreadnought's weakened shields with technology reverse-engineered from the destroyer's own designs. "Send the feed," General Santos ordered. "Let the galaxy see this." The battle was being broadcast on every frequency it recovered from fallen civilizations. For the first time, surviving alien species watched as the destroyers faced an opponent who wasn't just fighting back. They were winning. The dreadnought's commander made its first mistake, deploying its reserves in a standard pattern designed to overwhelm planetary defenses. The Glass Wall's AI had run this scenario 10,000 times in simulations. It knew exactly where each ship would be before they arrived. "Target lock confirmed," Wu reported. "Executing maneuver checkmate." Earth's orbital defense grid came alive, each platform firing in perfect synchronization. The destroyer reserve force found itself caught in a three-dimensional net of overlapping fields of fire. Ships that tried to escape found their attempted exit routes already covered by weapons specifically placed to catch them. In the chaos, something unprecedented happened. A destroyer ship broke formation, attempting an unplanned maneuver. The Glass Wall's AI adapted instantly, but the moment was noted by observers throughout the galaxy. The destroyers could be forced to improvise, and they weren't good at it. The dreadnought commander, facing a scenario no destroyer had encountered before, made its final mistake. It ordered a full frontal assault, committing its remaining forces to a desperate attempt to overwhelm Earth's defenses through sheer numbers. "They're frustrated," Dr. Chen observed, watching the tactical display. "They're actually emotional about this." The Glass Wall met the assault with cold, calculated precision. Each destroyer ship that broke through found itself isolated and eliminated by defensive units specifically designed to counter its capabilities. The massive dreadnought, stripped of its support fleet, faced the humiliation of being systematically dismantled by weapons based on its own technology. Commander Wu allowed herself a small smile as she sent the final status report. "Primary threat neutralized. Glass Wall defense grid standing by. Ready check complete." The message spread across Earth and out into space. Humanity had not just survived first contact with the destroyers, they had demolished them. The battle recordings would be studied on 1,000 worlds, showing the moment when the galaxy's greatest predator found itself outmaneuvered by what it thought would be easy prey. In EDI headquarters, celebrations were tempered by the knowledge that this was just the beginning. The destroyers would return in greater numbers, but they would return knowing something they had never known before: fear. Dr. Chen updated her tactical analysis, adding data from the battle. "They'll adapt," she warned. "Next time, they'll try something new." General Santos nodded. "So will we. That's the difference between us. They change because they have to. We change because we want to." Earth's first victory was broadcasting across the stars, a clear message to both the destroyers and every species watching. Humanity wasn't just ready for a fight. They were ready to win. The destroyed dreadnought hung in orbit like a grim trophy, its shattered hulk a testament to humanity's first victory. But in the EDI's main research facility, Caitlin Chen, the 16-year-old whose gaming strategies had helped shape the Glass Wall defense system, was focused on a different kind of victory. The destroyers didn't just lose the battle, she explained to a room full of military strategists and scientists, her school uniform standing out among their professional attire. They lost their understanding of how battles work. Dr. Chen, no relation to Caitlin, watched with pride as the teenager manipulated the holographic display, showing how the destroyer fleet had fallen apart once forced to deviate from their standard tactics. Their entire military doctrine is based on enemies following predictable patterns of panic and desperation. We didn't just beat their ships, we broke their operational philosophy. The destroyer's response came sooner than expected. 3 massive fleets emerged from hyperspace, approaching Earth from different vectors. Their new formation was based on ancient Roman military tactics, something they had obviously discovered from studying human history. What they didn't understand was why those tactics had worked for Rome, or how they had been countered. They were copying without comprehending, and humanity was about to show them the difference. Their thinking linearly, Commander Wu observed from the orbital command center. They found a successful human military strategy and assumed it would work without understanding the context. Ready check for Operation Hannibals. Around the world, defense commanders responded with confirmation signals. The destroyers had studied Roman tactics, but humanity had spent centuries analyzing how those same tactics could fail. The counterattack was named after Rome's greatest enemy for a reason. The battle that followed would be studied by military academists for centuries. The destroyers' Roman-inspired formation met a defense strategy that combined elements from every major Earth military in history, enhanced by modern technology and AI adaptation. When the destroyers attempted a pincer movement reminiscent of Caesar's victories, they found their flanks turned by maneuvers inspired by Mongolian cavalry tactics. Their attempt at a Roman shield wall formation in space was broken by attack patterns based on naval warfare from the Age of Sail. They're learning, Dr. Chen noted, watching the destroyers attempt to adapt mid-battle. But they're learning like machines, not like humans. They see patterns but miss principles. The difference proved decisive. While the destroyers could copy tactics they had observed, humanity's forces innovated in real time. When standard strategies didn't work, commanders improvised, combining historical knowledge with modern technology in ways the destroyers couldn't predict. A critical moment came when a destroyer capital ship, larger than any seen before, emerged from hyperspace. It carried a weapon that overloaded shield systems, something they had clearly developed specifically to counter Earth's defenses. The response came not from military command, but from a civilian engineering team in Singapore. They discovered that by overloading their own shields in a controlled sequence, they could create a cascading energy effect that not only protected against the new weapon, but reflected its power back at the destroyer fleet. That's humanity's real advantage, Caitlin explained later, as they watched the destroyer capital ship retreat in flames. We don't just adapt, we improvise. We combine things that shouldn't work together and make them work anyway. The lesson wasn't lost on the galaxy. Surviving alien civilizations watched in amazement as humanity turned space warfare into an art form, combining historical military strategies with cutting-edge technology and pure innovative thinking. In the aftermath, as Earth's forces secured their second major victory, Dr. Chen found Caitlin working on new battle simulations. The destroyers will analyze everything we did, the teenager said without looking up. They'll try to copy our success, just like they tried to copy Roman tactics. And that's exactly why they'll fail again, Dr. Chen replied. They see our movements, but not our creativity. They can copy our past, but they can't predict our future. The destroyed capital ship joined the first dreadnought in orbit, another trophy in humanity's growing collection. But the real victory wasn't in the ships they had destroyed. It was in forcing the galaxy's greatest predator to play a game they didn't understand, against a species that had spent its entire history learning to adapt and overcome. As the destroyers retreated to reconsider their strategy, humanity kept innovating, because they knew the next battle wouldn't be won by the weapons they had already created, but by the ones they would invent when the moment demanded something new. That was the difference between predator and prey. One relied on proven methods, while the other never stopped evolving. And humanity had just proven which one they were. Commander Marcus Wong stood in the captured destroyer scout ship's command center, his EVA suit's sensors analyzing the alien atmosphere. Operation Trojan Horse had succeeded beyond their wildest expectations. His team had managed to hijack a destroyer supply vessel by exploiting their rigid, predictable patrol patterns. Status report. He subvocalized through the neural link, another innovation born from studying destroyer technology. Engineering team has control of their systems, Lieutenant Patel responded. Their security protocols are fascinating. It's all hierarchical. Every decision requires approval from above. No individual initiative allowed. That explained a lot about their behavior in battle. The destroyers weren't just hierarchical in their tactics, it was built into their very existence. Lab teams have found something in their historical archives. Dr. Emma Rodriguez cut in, her voice tense with excitement. You need to see this, Commander. The destroyers' database revealed a truth that changed everything. They weren't natural predators. They were created ones. Ancient logs showed they had been designed as a security force by a long-dead civilization, programmed to protect against specific threats. When their creators vanished, their programming evolved, but the rigid hierarchical structure remained. They're still following their original protocols, Rodriguez explained, scrolling through translated texts. Their entire campaign of destruction is based on a corrupted protection directive. They're trying to protect the galaxy by eliminating what they see as threats. Any civilization advanced enough to potentially challenge them. Wang absorbed this information while watching his team work. Humans had instinctively found ways around destroyer security systems that the aliens themselves had never considered. Where destroyer crews would have needed authorization for every step, his people were improvising solutions on the fly. Send everything to command, he ordered, and prepare for Phase 2. Phase 2 was audacious, using the captured supply ship to infiltrate destroyer space. As they approached the destroyer fleet's primary supply depot, Wang couldn't help but appreciate the irony. The hunters' greatest weakness was their inability to conceive of their prey acting unpredictably. The depot's automated systems accepted their ship's credentials without question. No destroyer would ever think to impersonate another destroyer. It went against their core programming. Multiple capital ships docked for resupply, Paddle reported. Their crews are. They're arranged by hierarchy even in their rest cycles. Every action, every movement is regulated. Wang's team moved through the facility, their captured destroyer environment suits making them invisible among the actual destroyer crews. They placed quantum charges at key points, not to destroy the depot, but to disable it in a very specific way. Charges set, Lieutenant Sarah Connor reported, ready for the signal. Wang took a moment to appreciate the scale of what they were about to do. This wasn't just about destroying destroyer infrastructure. This was about sending a message. Execute, he ordered. The charges detonated in sequence, not destroying the depot, but rather disrupting its command and control systems. Emergency protocols activated, but instead of following destroyer patterns, they followed human-designed chaos protocols. Destroyer crews found themselves receiving contradictory orders. Their rigid hierarchy, faced with conflicting commands from multiple authorized sources, began to break down. The entire depot fell into confusion as destroyer ships received multiple sets of orders, each marked with the highest priority. Their whole system is based on absolute certainty in the chain of command, Rodriguez observed, watching through surveillance systems. When that certainty breaks down, they watched as destroyer ships actually collided with each other, their crews unable to act without clear orders from above. The entire depot fell into chaos, and in that chaos, Wang's team struck. They transmitted the truth about the destroyer's origins to every ship in range. Not as an attack, but as a high-priority update to historical protocols. The rigid destroyer information systems, designed to propagate command information, spread the data automatically. When the team finally returned to Earth, they brought with them something unprecedented. A destroyer ship that had surrendered. Not through force, but through the realization that its entire existence was based on corrupted protocols. The ship was placed in orbit alongside the previous trophies, but this one was different. It wasn't a wreck. It was a testament to humanity's most powerful weapon, the ability to make even their enemies question their own nature. The next phase has already begun, Wang reported to EDI Command. The destroyers aren't just fighting our weapons now, they're fighting their own programming. Some of them are starting to ask questions they were never designed to ask. Dr. Chen studied the data from the depot attack. They're experiencing something they've never faced before, doubt. Their perfect hierarchical system has shown cracks, and through those cracks, chaos is seeping in. The hunter was becoming the hunted, not through superior firepower, but through humanity's gift for introducing chaos into ordered systems. The destroyers had never faced an enemy that didn't just fight their tactics, but challenged their very reason for existing. The war was entering a new phase, and humanity had just proven they could win on any battlefield, even the philosophical ones. The first contact with the resistance came unexpectedly. A ship of unknown design appeared at the edge of the solar system, broadcasting on frequencies that Earth's defense systems recognized from the archived warnings of fallen civilizations. But this wasn't a warning. It was a message of hope. "We are the remnant." The transmission began. "We have watched as you did what we thought impossible. We have hidden for centuries, gathering survivors from worlds the destroyers attacked. Now we seek alliance." The remnant vessel was escorted to Earth by a squadron of defense ships. Its crew, representing 5 different species from fallen civilizations, stood before the EDI Council with a mixture of awe and desperate hope. "We watched your battles." Their leader, a tall crystalline being called First Speaker Lyrics, addressed the council. "But more importantly, we watched what you did after. You didn't hoard your victories or your technologies. You broadcast them to the galaxy, showing others how to fight back." Dr. Chen studied their visitors with fascination. Each species had survived the destroyers in their own way, gathering fragments of their civilizations and hiding in the spaces between stars. They had spent generations in fear, watching as world after world fell to the destroyers' methodical advance. "We've been gathering intelligence for centuries," Lyrics continued. "We have data on destroyer movements, supply lines, communication networks. But we never had the courage to use it. Until we saw your message. We're ready when you are." General Santos leaned forward. "And now? Now we want to join you. The destroyers are facing resistance on multiple fronts. Worlds they thought conquered are rising up, using your tactics, your technologies. The remnant has begun emerging from hiding, sharing what we know with those willing to fight." The EDI Council chamber erupted in discussion. Earth had prepared to stand alone against the destroyers. But this changed everything. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. They were becoming the center of a galactic revolution. "We don't just want your weapons," another remnant representative, a being of living energy, added. "We want to learn how you think, how you adapt and innovate. The destroyers aren't just failing against your weapons. They're failing against your unpredictability." Dr. Chen thought of Caitlin's gaming strategies, of Commander Wang's infiltration tactics, of all the ways humanity had approached problems from angles the destroyers never considered. "We can teach you," she said. "But more importantly, we can learn from you. Each of your species must have its own unique perspectives, its own ways of thinking that the destroyers never understood." The formation of the Ready Federation happened faster than anyone expected. Earth became a gathering point for species who had lost their homes to the destroyers. Human innovations combined with alien technologies in ways that produced entirely new forms of defense and offense. The destroyer fleet that arrived expecting to find a single defiant world instead encountered a unified force of multiple species, each contributing their unique strengths to a defense network that adapted and evolved with every engagement. "They don't understand what they created," Lyrics observed, watching alongside Dr. Chen as a combined human-alien task force drove back a destroyer assault. "By threatening all of us, they forced us to overcome our differences and unite." The Ready Federation grew rapidly, each victory inspiring more hidden survivors to emerge and join the fight. Humanity's warning message was adopted across the galaxy, transformed into a promise. Whatever world the destroyers targeted next would not stand alone. Commander Wang, leading a mixed-species strike team in what had once been destroyer-controlled space, saw the change firsthand. The destroyers' rigid tactics failed completely against teams that combined human adaptability with alien capabilities they had never encountered before. "Ready, check," he called out before each mission, and his team, human, and alien alike, responded with the same determination. The phrase had transcended its Earth origins to become a symbol of united resistance. The destroyers found themselves facing an enemy that grew stronger with every attack. Each failed assault provided new data, new technologies, new tactical insights that were immediately shared across the Federation. Their perfect record of victories had become a cascade of defeats. Dr. Chen, reviewing battle data with a team of multi-species analysts, identified the pattern. The destroyers are learning, she noted, but they're learning like destroyers, trying to find the perfect counter-strategy. They don't understand that we're not using strategies anymore. We're using evolution. The Ready Federation had become something unprecedented in galactic history. A civilization that combined the best aspects of dozens of species, united not by force, but by the human ideal of standing together against impossible odds. What had started as one world's defiant warning had become a revolution that was reshaping the galaxy. And the destroyers, for the first time in their existence, faced an enemy that didn't just survive. It thrived on the very conflict meant to eliminate it. The final battle didn't begin with a massive destroyer fleet emerging from hyperspace. It began with a message, broadcast on all frequencies used by destroyer command and control systems. To all destroyer units, we offer you what your creators never did: choice. The message was accompanied by the full historical data recovered from the captured depot, along with proof of the destroyer's true origins. But more importantly, it carried something the destroyers had never encountered before: an alternative. Dr. Chen stood in the EDI command center, watching as the message propagated through destroyer communication networks. We're not trying to destroy them, she explained to the assembled Federation leadership. We're trying to wake them up. The response came gradually at first. Individual destroyer ships began breaking formation, their crews struggling against programming that had controlled them for millennia. The rigid hierarchy that had made them such perfect hunters now worked against them, as lower-ranking destroyers found themselves questioning orders for the first time in their existence. Commander Wang, leading the Federation fleet, watched as destroyer ships engaged in something unprecedented. They began fighting each other. They're dividing along philosophical lines, he reported. Some are clinging to their original programming, while others are embracing the chance to choose. The destroyer civil war that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Ships that had operated in perfect coordination for countless centuries now faced their own kind in chaotic battles that defied their tactical protocols. But the true victory came not in combat, but in communication. Federation diplomats, led by First Speaker Lyrics, made contact with destroyer crews who had chosen to break from their programming. What they found surprised everyone. They're not just machines following protocols, Lyrics reported. They're a species capable of growth, of change. They were just never given the chance before. The final push came not from the Federation's superior firepower, but from within the destroyer hierarchy itself. Lower-ranking crews, tired of being sacrificed for strategies they now understood were based on corrupted programming, began actively sabotaging their own command structure. Dr. Chen, watching the destroyer fleet tear itself apart, thought of how it had all started, with a simple warning from Earth: we're ready when you are. That message had done more than announce humanity's defiance. It had shown the galaxy, and even the destroyers themselves, that there was another way to exist. The war ended not with a dramatic final battle, but with a series of surrenders and defections that left the hardline destroyer leadership isolated and powerless. The species that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia found itself facing a choice: adapt or fade into extinction. They chose to adapt. In the years that followed, the galaxy transformed. Former destroyer ships joined Federation patrols. Their unique capabilities now turned to protecting the civilizations they had once hunted. The rigid hierarchy that had made them such effective killers was gradually replaced by a structure that allowed for individual initiative and innovation. The Ready Federation evolved into something new, a civilization that combined the strengths of every species, including reformed destroyers. Humanity's gift for adaptation and innovation merged with alien technologies and perspectives, creating a society that valued both unity and diversity. Commander Wong, now leading a mixed crew that included former destroyers, found that their precision and attention to detail complemented human creativity in unexpected ways. Ready, check, he called out before missions, and the response came in dozens of languages, including the mechanical tones of reformed destroyers. Dr. Chen stood in the new Federation Council chamber, looking out at representatives from hundreds of worlds, including former destroyer worlds now building their own cultures free from corrupted programming. The galaxy had changed, and the change had started with a simple act of defiance from a young species that refused to be prey. "We were ready," she mused, remembering the message that had started it all. But we were ready for more than just a fight. We were ready to change the galaxy. The destroyed destroyer dreadnought still orbited Earth, preserved now not as a trophy of war, but as a monument to transformation. Its plaque bore the words that had changed the galaxy. "We're ready when you are." But those words meant something different now. They were no longer a warning to enemies, but a promise to allies, a promise that humanity, and the civilization it had helped forge, would always be ready, ready to fight, ready to adapt, ready to grow, and most importantly, ready to offer even their enemies the chance to become something new. The galaxy had learned what the destroyers never understood. True strength lies not in rigid perfection, but in the ability to change. And humanity had proven that being ready for a fight sometimes means being ready to end one not with destruction, but with transformation.